Welcome to After Hours with the Queen. Thanks for joining me. Tonight's live stream is pertaining to fat guy, little guy, bad sex. Do you run? Ladies, what is your preference? Do you prefer a taller guy that's thin, a taller guy that's heavier, a taller guy that's not really heavy, but maybe has a little bit of a tummy? Shorter guy that could be considered stout, shorter guy muscular, shorter guy thin. Now, for the sex. Maybe he's a really nice guy, great temperament, easy on the eye, sense of humor, but you've had relations and it's not that good. Do you stay or do you run like hell? Thank you for joining me. Let's go into the Google search and see what we can find pertaining to preferences, and then I will play audio pertaining to what would turn a woman on to stay or go in a courtship or relationship. Thank you for joining me. A tall guy makes a woman feel safe and secure. While short men are just as capable of looking after their partners, tall guys exude a sense of safety that many women appreciate. When a shorter woman is with a taller man, she might feel like she doesn't have to worry about her own security or protection. Why do women prefer bigger men? And it's not just because they think fat guys are funny or cute. In fact, girls and women love fat guys for a number of reasons, grounded in science, ranging from the assumed trustworthiness of fat dudes to increased sexual stamina that extra pounds bring. Well, is that true? Does extra pounds bring stamina? Some might disagree that possibly the heavier the person, they may not be able to hold up, go windedly sexually. I don't know. I guess it depends on that person's stamina. Who am I? I'm just repeating the information. Hmm. Why do women like chubby guys? There are advantages to dating chubby guys. They often have an infectious positivity that can brighten up any room. Additionally, their larger physique can provide a sense of security comfort for their partners. Furthermore, chubby guys are usually more accepting and understanding. Is that true? Oh, I don't know about that. Because there are so many types of people out here with different types of personalities, and that would possibly be an assumption that a chubbier guy, heavier guy, he's more jovial, he's more happy, he's more content, he's easier to get along with. But what if he's insecure and he's mad and he's bitter and he's a sociopath or a psychopath? Then that wouldn't apply to him now, would it? No different than a skinny guy, muscular guy being just as ill spirited, bitter, angry, not so happy. You see where I'm going. Do women prefer slim men? Whether you're slender but built or straight up skin and bones, a lot of women prefer a slim partner. A lot of us have been conditioned to think of the ideal man as having a strong jaw and buff facial features. But studies indicate most women are attracted to men with thin, more defined faces. Which is more attractive, skinny or fat? The measure of body fat distribution, the WHR, was found to be the critical variable associated with attractiveness. Normal weight female figures with low WHR were judged to be most attractive and were assigned many desirable qualities. What type of bodies, what type of body does a girl like? As mentioned before in Parrott's book, In Your Face, The New Science of Human Attraction, women show a stronger attraction toward men with a figure consistent with the ideal hunting physique, strong shoulders, narrow waists, and broad chest and shoulders. Is that true? Wow. Let's go into the belly of the beast pertaining to the physique of a male. Hmm. Nice set of abs. Generous posterior. Well, I must say, there's nothing like a guy with a little bit of you know what back there. Shut your mouth. Wide, strong shoulders. Ripped, tapered back. Defined, strong arms. Chiseled chest. Your face. According to research from the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, women are most attracted to men whose faces inspire their proclivity to nurture with their desire to mate with a sexually mature partner, the LA Times reports. What this means is they like men with large eyes and a medium to small nose, baby face features, and a strong jaw and wide cheekbones, mature man's face. Women want a compassionate looking guy and a bad boy that exudes sexual power. Basically, women have made up their mind to not make up their mind. A mysterious mouth. Oh, the allure of bad boys. A study from the University of British Columbia found that women are less sexually attracted to happy guys than brooding men. Interesting. Warning, you may become sulky after reading this. While a smile is essential to social interactions, women were more attracted to men who looked proud, powerful, and yes, a little moody at first glance, act mysterious and aloof at first. And once you've got her, grin away. But does that ever happen? Interesting. Powerful hands. Women are detail oriented in an Ask Men poll. Women said they love a man's hands because it says a lot about him, like what he does for a living, as well as his devotion to grooming and maintenance. Bigger hands also relate to masculinity, though you probably knew that already. Well, I must say the queen does not like a man with dirty hands, nor does she like a man with fingernails. Although my father had well manicured nails for a man, he was the exception to the rule. I still wouldn't be attracted to a man with fingernails, manicured or not. I just don't like fingernails on a man, and I don't like toenails either. Those are my pet peeves. I'm just saying. The right amount of facial hair. Women find men with heavy stubble to be the most attractive form of facial hair. 2013 study from the journal Evolution and Human Behavior finds they find heavy beards, light stubble, and clean shaven faces to be less attractive. However, women associate full beards with good health and parenting ability, something to think about for the future, perhaps. Really now? So a beard means the guy would be a better father? I had not heard that before. So ladies, tell me, do you prefer a man with a beard, a mustache? I have never really been attracted to a man with a mustache and a beard. And I'll just let that sit right there, maybe why I don't. But anywho, I just have never just been like roughly, attracted, just distinctly attracted to a man with a beard. But I must say, I have seen some very, very nice men with beards. And I think the past couple of years, a man with a beard has become more popular. Nice and trim, mustache. That's something I've seen in a lot of men in photographs. Women are saying, hey, he's not a bad looking guy. Never thought I'd be attracted to a guy with a beard, mustache. Indeed. Okay. So what are we saying, ladies? How do you like your men? Tall, short, average height, super tall, super short, stocky, stout, muscular, little bit of tummy, little derriere, buff chest, buff back, strong arms, strong jawline, hair, no hair. Just asking. Just asking. By comparison, 23% of women say they like slimmer men, compared to 6% who say they're attracted to men who are chubby. 3 in 10 women, 29%, said they don't mind what height or weight someone is. August 4th, 2021. Interesting. What is considered chubby for a guy? Women with more than 30% body fat and men with more than 25% body fat are considered obese. If your BMI is 25.0 to 29.9, it falls within the overweight range. If your BMI is 30.0 or higher, it falls within the obese range. Why do women like tall men? Once again, while short men are just as capable of looking after their partners, tall guys exude a sense of safety that many women appreciate. And I would agree. I like a tall guy too. When a shorter woman is with a taller man, she might feel like she doesn't have to worry about her own security or protection. So, ladies, whether you are tall, average height, or shorter female, do you prefer a taller guy? Do you feel more safe in the arms and the company of a taller man? Just asking. Why are taller guys hotter? If their guy is bigger than them, they feel more petite. Many girls who were interviewed about why they lean more towards taller men say tall guys make them feel safe. They hold the image of being able to protect a man, to keep her and her family safe. They seem stronger. So let's say a lady's walking down the street with a shorter guy. They're the same height, or perhaps she's a little bit taller. Would she feel safe with him in case of an altercation or someone bumped her and then she's looking around, and what is she doing? She's waiting for that guy to say something. Would that shorter guy buck up and say, hey, tell my lady, excuse me? Or would he feel intimidated if the guy was taller? Just saying. What is the ideal male height? Well, here is the timetable. 149 to 183 pounds. He should be 5'10". 155 to 189 pounds, 5'11". 160 to 196 pounds, 6 feet tall. 166 to 202, 6'1". Why are skinny guys so attractive? And that might be because they have a genetic advantage. Natural selection suggests that women are more often attracted to men who increase the likelihood of their offspring's survival. Well, interesting. And skinny guys may fit that bill. Commentary from December 29th, 2022. So do women look at men in case they are in the mating arena? I'd like that guy because he's fit, he's trim, and he'd be a good catch as far as mating, producing, what would this be? Virile children, good-looking children, strong children. Just saying. Did that ever occur to any of you women when you were out there mating? Did you ever just look at a guy for his physique because you wanted a certain type of child? Very interesting. Didn't think about that. Interesting. But I think that's an old person's terminology. You want a lady that's nice looking, healthy, so your children will come out healthy looking, nice looking. I think it's an older person's terminology pertaining to mating. Very interesting. What weight makes you attractive? Wow. 1 second. I can find that. Well, I don't know. Didn't show up. Let's go to this other one. Where is it attractive to be overweight? Jamaica. 1993 study in Jamaica found that plump bodies are considered healthiest and most attractive among rural Jamaicans. Fat is associated with fertility, kindness, happiness, vitality, and social harmony. Some Jamaican girls even buy pills designed to increase their appetite and help them gain weight. And we have seen this in foreign countries such as Africa, South Africa. Yes, Jamaica. The men prefer the women with weight on them. But I'm sure there are some men in foreign countries such as Africa, Jamaica, that like a skinnier woman, average sized woman, to each its own. But yes, in those countries, the woman is revered special if she has a little weight on her. And now with all this plastic surgery going around, the end look is having more thighs, more buttocks, and more breasts with an itty bitty size waist, if you haven't noticed. But up 30 so years ago, the slender model type was more popular. Small chest, straight up body, almost a boyish-like figure was the norm for Hollywood. But guys still like girls, with the pear shape, small waist, nice backside, thighs, nice breasts. You get my drift. Is it better to be skinny or fat as a guy? Bottom line, both obesity and being out of shape increases your chances of a number of diseases, early death. However, the person who is lean but doesn't exercise regularly may not be in such good health. After all, being active and fit is good for you regardless of your body size. Okay. What part of the body attracts females the most? Arms. It's no wonder that women tend to gravitate towards strong, muscular men. 19% of ladies say they look at a guy's arms before anything else. Gee, let me think about that. Do I look at his arms? That's a whopping 37% of women who consider the torso the sexiest part of a man's body. So, ladies, what do you look at first? Hello, ladies in the chat. Thank you for joining me. And those viewing and ear hustling, welcome to After Hours with the Queen. Are you looking at his face? The shape of his face, his lips, his jaw. Are you women more attracted to a guy with full lips, thin lips? Are you an ear lady? Bald head, hair, fade, box cut, no hair, long hair, medium hair, natural hair? Stay woke. Are you up into the eyes, eyelashes? Because every woman has her own preference. Torso, buff, muscles, back, arms, strong, hands, strong. What are you attracted to, ladies? Talk to the queen. Women on average tend to be more attracted to men who have relatively narrow waist, a V-shaped torso, wide chest, and broad shoulders. Women also tend to be more attracted to men who are taller and larger than they are and display a high degree of facial symmetry, as well as relatively masculine facial dimorphism. I never heard of that before. Why are big people so gentle? Size in itself can be intimidating, and too, they have to be more careful not to not accidentally hurt those that are smaller. So they are more or less forced to become very peaceful in order to constantly reassure those around them that they are not a threat. Our family has a simple answer. And that is something to think about, being a very petite, small woman. You're dating a big, tall guy, 6 foot or taller. I think that would be a little bit intimidating, because naturally you don't want someone to strong arm you and grab you and hurt you. And then you also have to think about a worst case scenario. If the person decides to become violent, they will have more leeway. But then we also know that men are usually stronger anyway because of muscle mass. So he could be short, average height, and still be able to dominate you, whether you are a petite, average size, or tall woman. I think most of us as women know this. But is it kind of scary being a very little itty bitty petite woman with this tall, big, towering guy, 7 foot tall, 7 feet? That's a big guy for a little bitty woman, 5'2", 5 feet. Some guys with good leanness genetics can maintain their general health and mood while having year-round abs, 8 to 10% body fat. Mind you, that's rare. Women prefer men closer to 13% body fat, which tends to be healthier and more sustainable for most guys. So, ladies, do you like a guy with a little bit of belly? Just asking. What is the most attractive height for a man? I think they've got it at 5'6". It says number 3, 5'6", over 6 foot. That's shocking to me. Honestly, number 2 is 5'10". The number 1 most right height, that's hard to say for guys. Trying to get an understanding. It's 5'5", too short for a man. A height of 5'5" inches, 165 centimeters for an adult male falls within the average height range in many parts of the world. Wow, interesting. Didn't know that. Conversation. India's average height is about 5 feet 5 inches, whereas the global average height is roughly 5 feet 7.5 inches for a male. This data, March 11, 2024. So, ladies, how do you like him? Short, 5'5", 5 feet, 5'7", 5'8". What is your preference? It's 5'11" tall for a man. So yes, it's tall for a man, for an adult male. It's about the average 5'9.5", 9.14". For an adult male, it's way above average, 5'4". So yes, 5'11" is definitely tall. Age. Shall we go there as well? Why not? Furthermore, a data dive by Christian Rudder, co-founder of OkCupid, has used surveys to find the male age women find attractive above all others. The result? Between the ages of 38 and 39. Just doing a little bit of this and that, everybody. Research has revealed that women prefer more muscular men for their frisky flings and short-term romances. Wow, interesting. Fellas, if you fancy a one-night stand, it may be time to hit the gym. Research has revealed that women prefer more muscular men for their frisky flings and short-term romances. October 14, 2023. New York Post. Well, now, let's really chop that up for just a second. Is it more that the men who are more muscular built, slimmer physique, are the ones who don't want a relationship and they like one-night stands, fooling around? Because I have found that with a lot of men who are really, really nice looking, great physiques, slim to muscular built, they weren't in the committing department. And then you also have those little porkers, guys who have a little bit of weight on them, chubby. They were whores as well. Because that's the whole point. It doesn't really matter, short, tall, fat, muscular, great abs. A whorish man is just that, a whorish man. If he wants to be a decent guy, he'll be a decent guy. Same thing for a woman. So it doesn't really matter about tall, short, fat looks. But one thing I have seen, and a lot of women will possibly agree with me, the sex seems to be better with the muscular, thinner guy. Better performance by the male. Better, what shall I say, acrobatics. Acrobatics by the male. More in tune into you, what you want, what you desire, what you like, what you need, what you fancy. Not out of breath. He's winded. Stay woke, everybody. So I can see how the smaller male, whether he's tall or short or average, and he's leaner in weight, muscular too, he'd be the guy that there would be more flings, one-night stands, just sex. Because a lot of those guys have egos, a lot of big egos. So they're not in tune to being monogamous. Not saying all, but a lot of men I have seen in conversations I've had with women, usually that great-looking guy who's built nice, he doesn't want a commitment. That's just a sad thing to say, but I do believe that is true. Let's talk about the women for just briefly. What weight is considered beautiful? Eyes of a man. According to the results, the ideal female body is 5'5", about 130 pounds, 26-inch waist. To explore the impact of such a study, we spoke to board-certified anesthesiologist, physician Dr. Azza Halim. Well, then he goes on to talk about what men like. We'll do another show on that one. Chubby men. Which one is your preference, ladies? Chubby men? Muscular? Thin? Tall? What is your preference? Just going through all the data here. Thank you all for joining me. But you all weren't expecting this live stream this morning. Is the sex better with a smaller man? Let's see what Cora has to say. Let's now talk about bad sex. And sex in general. Who's better in bed, ladies? Tall or short men, and why? Does it depend on what he's packing? Well, now, David Slaminski wrote 2 years ago, I'm a male who is 6'1", personally not going to say anything about size because that would be odd. But to answer your question, it should not matter how tall or short a man is for sexual intercourse. If she really loved you and loved sexual intercourse with you, it should not matter. Well, that's the whole point. You said if she really loved you and loved sexual. So if she loved the sex, then yes, I guess she would be happy. But then what if she doesn't? Then that's a whole other subject, Mr. David. None of that matters. It should not matter how tall or short they are or how big it is. Just be proud of who you are as a man and be happy with yourself. Don't be insecure about your package. Most women should not care for how big it is. If they really care that much, she doesn't belong with you. No matter what, if she loves you, no matter what, if she loves you, it doesn't matter, and she will love it regardless. Point is, no matter how tall or short you are, you can be great in bed no matter what. Well, David, you actually would have to speak for yourself because you can't speak for other men. Everyone has his or her own preference sexually. Okay? So, some women prefer a man with a package, average package. Some do not. Okay? So, if you have a certain preference in the male anatomy, it's probably going to be a problem if you got with someone who did not have an average size penis, let's say. Because if that's what you're used to, that's what you're accustomed to, that's what you desire. So let's say you give this great looking guy, nice looking, funny, you all decide to become intimate, and then poof, voila, he disrobes and there's not much there. Well, let's just use common sense, David, because you're one of those people we have to pretend that we're talking to a toddler. If there's not much there, tall, short, fat, hell no, it's not going to matter because there's nothing there. There's nothing to work with. There's nothing to play with. Just keeping it real. There's nothing there. Now, there are women who will say, well, it doesn't matter. And that's her preference. That is her preference. But I think most women would like a man that has a little bit of something. Now, naturally, you don't want it too big because then you can't do anything with it when it's too big. And who needs emergency type situations going to a clinic or hospital because the man is overly well endowed? Then you can't really enjoy it, if you get my drift. I'm just saying. But every woman capacity and tolerance is obviously different. Meryl Louise says, and she has a BA in psychology and creative writing from the University of Iowa. If you're talking scientifically, short men 5'7" and under are better in bed, have sex more frequently with their spouse, are better at splitting housework, and get divorced less frequently than tall men. They do get married less compared to tall men, but stay married at a higher rate. Wow, I never heard of such. Okay, interesting. Okay. Let's see what this one here is about. Short men make better partners. This person says personal experiences, those stereotypes are BS. Throughout my dating history, and I'm just one woman, 5'6", slightly tall for an American woman. Men that are my height or only slightly taller, 5'7", 5'9", are the most caring, attentive, trustworthy partners and best between the sheets, laugh out loud, in terms of effort and other things. All of the men who were over 6 feet tall, I felt less comfortable with physically. I didn't like that we couldn't look in each other's eyes easily and that we didn't fit well or line up well. I also feel that tall men treated me less well and were less committed, like they knew they could get another girl, so they didn't care that much or just pretended they cared and then dropped me out of the blue or worse. Coincidence? Probably, but the science backs it too. If you need a boost of confidence in your height, just know these gals out there that either don't care about height or prefer shorter men, what women want in the long term is very different than what gets them into bed for the first night, you know. Tall men probably have an easier time getting laid based on those stereotypes, but that doesn't mean they are better in bed. Wow. Lisa writes, I don't necessarily think height has anything to do with how a guy performs in bed, as long as a guy has equipment that is in good and working order, and he is confident and passionate and makes his partner's need a priority. It should not matter. Personally, I am more physically attracted to tall men, but that is just a personal preference. That is not necessarily based on the size of their endowment, but I would generally say the ones I have known were proportional. So here we go into the realm where we leave size, physique of the man to his male anatomy, because it all goes hand in hand. What you're attracted to, what your preference is, and then the other part of my topic, which is bad sex. Okay? Do you stay or do you run? So everyone is entitled to his or her opinion pertaining to sex, preferences, attractiveness, so on and so forth. So let me ask the ladies in the chat and the viewing audience. Have you ever had bad sex? It was not great sex. Could a man be well endowed and still not know what he's doing? It's not working for you. I'll let that sit right there. I think a lot of complaints from women as far as bad sex with men would be, one, the size. It's rather small. He couldn't keep an erection, and he couldn't do other things that she prefers, such as oral sex, or he's not a kisser. See, every woman has her preference. Some women are into oral sex. Some women are into the backside sex. Some women like to ride the man. Different ways of having sex. All that's going to matter with the partner. Then the man may want to do things that she doesn't want to do. So all that's going to matter in how well they mesh. So ladies, have you been with a partner that you were attracted to physically? He has a nice personality. He had a nice, but when it got down to the get down, you were not enthralled. You were not attracted to his male part. Or the male part didn't do what you wanted to do. Because a man could have a nice sized penis, but he can't get an erection. Or he doesn't know how to do, what it is that you like to do. Not trying to get, graphic, but just saying. He could have a nice part, but maybe he doesn't know how to use it well. Now, haven't had that problem. What a guy who had a nice part and he didn't know what to do with it. It's usually the ones who didn't have much that would be the problem. But as I said, every female is different. My. Ooh, the webs we weave. Let's go over to YouTube and see what we can find pertaining to bad sex. Thank you, ladies, for joining me and commenting. Hello, Tootie. How are you, dear? Wonderful day in the neighborhood. Won't you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? Let's see what this man has to say about bad sex.
All women like it when the guy's somewhat more in charge, and most guys like to be somewhat more in charge in the bedroom. And so, if you are a guy that has great sexual abilities,
Nikki,
and you have sex with a woman that doesn't have sex, you can at least sort of dominate her and throw her around and put her in some positions and at least make sure that the sex isn't bad, right? Again, it won't be as good as sex with someone that actually has more skills and actually is more proactive, but at least you can make sure that the experience isn't bad and that it is somewhat enjoyable for both parties. Because you can just, throw her around like a little doll and she gets thrown around like a little doll, so you both end up having fun, right? In most cases. Again, personal preference aside, if you're not into that, you're allowed to not be into that, but most people like that. And so in most cases, a guy that is good in bed, a woman that isn't good in bed, you can still have good sex. Good, at least non-bad sex, right? Whereas if it's the other way around, the guy isn't good at sex, the woman is good at sex, it doesn't work that way.
Exactly.
You are probably going to have bad sex.
Yes.
The woman probably isn't really going to sort of lead the guy through the experience. Most women probably don't want to do that.
Exactly.
They probably think that's very unattractive.
Yes.
Most guys probably don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just say, okay, honey, I'll just lie here. I am a virgin. I have zero experience. So I'll lie here and you just dominate and lead me. 99.9999% of cases, that is going to end up bad, right? That is going to end up in bad sex. So again, I am not saying that women do not contribute to the bedroom quality at all. They absolutely do. There's a huge difference between sleeping with a woman that has more skills and is more proactive and a woman that doesn't. But if you are a guy that is actually good at having sex, the sex should technically never have to be bad, even if you have sex with a woman.
Girl, I'm dead.
That is bad. Whereas the other way around, it tends to not really work that way. And so the statement, bad sex is a man's fault, always,
oh, Lord, I'm dead,
is a bit of a harsh statement. I'm not sure if I'd use the word always myself. But he does make a fair point. If I were to look at myself and I were to have bad sex in whatever situation, I'd hold myself accountable.
Wow.
I'd take responsibility for the quality of what happened. I would not blame the woman. I might say, well, it wasn't that great with this woman as it was with that woman. But if it's actually bad, I will never blame the woman. I will blame myself.
So, interesting, Mr. Rob Mulder says this, but not too many men are going to say it's my fault. Because there are men who will just keep, going, thinking they're doing something. As someone in the chat is saying, it was small, it was slipping out, no girth. Of course, because there's nothing to fill up the vagina. So whether the vagina is new vagina, old vagina, you know where I'm going with this. The vagina has to have something to fill it up. That's just common sense. So if there's not much downtown, there's nothing to fill the opening inside. So there can't be much sensation if there's nothing that's going in. Let's just keep it real. So you hear this guy saying he takes responsibility, but you have those men who will be, going at it like a rabbit and think they're doing something, and little do they know the woman is not pleased, she's not satisfied, she's pretending to moan, groan, that, adage of, oh yeah, I had an orgasm, that type of nonsense. And it's sad that a woman would have to lie, but do you really want to hurt someone's feelings while you're undressed? Oh my goodness. You all are killing me right now in the chat. Oh, Lordy. Tootie. You guys are funny. I'm just keeping it real, though. Who wants to tell somebody, hey, get off of me? You're boring me. This don't feel good. I don't feel anything. I don't think that's the time you want to do that. Especially for safety reasons. You do not want the person to turn on you while you are indisposed. Because I don't think lying down on your back naked or any other position, you want to be criticizing a person, and God forbid they decide it might exact to violence. Just keeping it real. That's not the place you want to start bitching, moaning, and complaining. Hey, move to the left, move to the right. What are you doing? Or, whatever. Even if it may hurt and they have a little something going on. You just don't want to be indisposed and saying something that would not be pleasing. Probably best to pretend you're enjoying it, and then when it's over, everybody's getting dressed, however you end the dates, whatever the transaction, and send Peter on his way. Oh, God help me. Now, David under this article says, it depends on the chemistry between the two people. Now, George says, interesting that a woman tends to see a fault in her physical appearance when the sex isn't good for a man, when in reality, he only desires a little more proactivity and guidance what she likes. But on the other hand, a guy can rather get stressed and overwhelmed about his performance and kills the whole experience by asking if it was good or not. Maybe even have a premature ejaculation because he's so stressed about performing and making her, capital letters, come. I think if a woman should have a little dominance, then only in the form of proactive submission, if you get what I mean. A man wants to be dominant and the leader, but he also doesn't want to do it all by himself. Because a woman isn't a doll, so it feels weird if she starts just doing exactly what he wants and constantly ask him what she should do next. And Mr. Molden replies to this person's comment, I know exactly what you mean. A lot of women make the mistake of thinking that being submissive means they're not allowed to be proactive. So let me ask some of you ladies, which is none of my business. You don't have to answer out loud. Are you proactive in the bedroom with your mate or whomever you coincide with? Do you take charge? Do you ask for what you want? Or do you just take it or guide the man to tell him what to do or what you want for him? Do you tell a man that you're not satisfied with his transaction or what's going on downtown or his mouth or whatever? Do you speak fluently while in the commission of the act, or you just go along with the flow? Do you say, hey, I want to try this? Do you go along with what he wants? Do you say, hey, let's try something else? Do you say, well, this isn't comfortable, let's do it this way? Are you proactive? Very interesting. Now, Marion says, for everyone watching this, you can absolutely be good at it and have a bad day. Everybody does have bad days. Being okay with that to happen will take a lot of pressure off from your back and let you do it even better and enjoy the experience even more for you and your partner. And for me, this is a thing that gets better with time as you become more intimate and know better your partner. So don't give up if the first time isn't that great. And Salmon replies, perfect comment. So let's go there. If it's someone that you just met, so I think my question for the title of this video is more for people who have just gotten together. As I said, he's a nice guy. You're vibing well, good conversation, funny, attributes you like, attractiveness, so on and so forth. But when you get down to the nitty gritty, you were not pleased with your first transaction. Do you run or do you stay? That's my question to the chat. That is the question for this live stream. What is your preference in a man? Tall, short, fat, thin, muscular, beer belly, nice derriere? And do you run after the first go with a man? Because you do know that people say relationships with the sex is horrible. You've heard the stories of men complaining she doesn't like to do anything. She don't want to try anything new. She's sick. She's this. She's pregnant. All the excuses we hear. And then we also have women who say, well, it's not that good. He's sick. He don't feel good. He's got blood pressure, diabetes. It ain't this. It ain't that. It won't get up. I'm always having to do all the work. Whatever the complaints are, should a person stay? Let's start it off with newcomer. First out the gates, first interlude, it is not good. Should you stay? Go back for seconds. Try it again. Okay? Try it again. Do you try it again? Or you just say, wasn't worth the time. I'm not interested. I'll let him down gracefully or I'll just be his friend or I will ghost him. Some of you are just like men. You don't mind ghosting. Or you wait until the next time to see if it can get better. You don't tell him that it wasn't great. You lie. He asks you, how was it? How was it? As you heard someone in the article saying, that can turn off the mood. Keep asking, is it good? Is it good? Is it good? And you're sitting here saying to yourself, damn, will this night end? Please, I'm bored. Do you wait? Say, well, I'll wait. He's a nice guy. He's funny. He's this. I'll try it again and see if it gets better the second time. Tootie says, try again if all other assets are good. Okay. Tootie says, try it again. Well, all right. Let's hear from some women who want to talk about what they like, don't like, to make it work.
We're going to want to explore and try new positions. Put in some effort. Act like you want to be there. I'm so excited.
Oh, Lordy. Music. Wait a minute.
Foreplay. Don't just try to slide that shit in without priming me up first.
You better bet. Hell no. Keep on that. Say that shit.
That shit hurts.
Lack of foreplay. I feel like a lot of guys feel like a girl is supposed to just be wet. You have to get me there. Not all the time. Sometimes I'm gonna look at you and I'm gonna wanna have sex with you and I'm already gonna be at go. But you're gonna have to get me there because a lot of guys think that just kissing is gonna get me wet. No. This is not how cute. It's not just gonna be like, okay, bitch, let's get wet. You're gonna have to get me there. Tease me, a little touching, eat me out. You wanna play with my titties a little bit. I feel like a lot of guys just feel like because you're interested in me, that I'm just gonna be turned on. No, you have to get me there.
My body's back. I'm ready to go. Where we're going? Let's go.
If you don't get me there, then I'm not gonna be there.
You know what? I want you to.
He's got too much silliness in his videos. I was trying to find some content to play that didn't have all this extra nonsense in it, but it's got too much adage in. Let's see if I can play this. I have to be careful because copyrights infringements messes up the live stream. This is from 8 years ago.
To break up with your partner if the sex is bad.
Heck yeah!
Absolutely.
Hold up. Wait, everybody.
Yes.
Wait a second. No, Adrian.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
You
Jordan is shaking his head.
No.
Yep.
No.
I don't think so. There's something. Just
Okay. Yes, I feel like it should be a conversation first.
Yes.
That's probably because your husband had probably horrible sex, your ex-husband.
You understand? Yeah. And then you
Sometimes it ain't got nothing to do with your back, it's your front.
Oh! That's a fool.
That might be bad with someone else.
I love it.
Chemistry is really important.
Yeah, but let me tell you something. Yes,
Right?
it is.
Chemistry
Yes,
is
it
maybe you just not good with
I
me.
ain't saying I was out there in them streets,
Yeah,
right?
no.
And I feel like I've had in my lifetime only do it hallelujah, amazing situations, right?
Okay.
And I'm telling you, I would take a good man over that any day. I'm telling you.
That is
If
true.
you played out, it's time when you don't feel like doing da-da-da-da. And it's other things that
That is
matter.
true.
I'm sorry.
I always said sex is always the icing on the cake. It isn't a cake. However,
Wait.
That's your baby.
yeah, no, but
Ooh,
I do think sex is important.
It is.
Especially in a marriage, because I think it brings the intimacy back
Yes.
in marriage.
Yes.
I really do. Sometimes you know how you go up and down sometimes in a marriage.
Yeah,
and
but
it does
when
go
you
and
and
down. Okay.
honestly, this is a 1,000. I'm being 1,000 right now,
Yeah.
right? I don't want nothing that's too good no more.
Really?
No, I got things to do.
It makes you crazy.
Makes you crazy.
Oh.
I ain't
It's
crazy.
crazy.
I can't be sitting here thinking about you
Tamar.
back all day.
Every once in a while, every once in a while, you don't want a little crazy.
Listen, I want a little crazy every once in a while.
Yeah.
I like mediocre. Let's have a little balance.
Or can we just have it like just a crazy and a quick? Like, you know, you can go crazy and a quick. It's great. A crazy right quick.
I know when that hot line blink, okay?
oh my God. I'm dead.
You know why I like good guys? Because you can be the one to actually turn them out. Ooh! Have you
That's
ever,
too much work, homie. Wait.
once in a while, though, once they learn, once they got it, they got it. And once in a while, I'm just putting the responsibility back on us ladies of 2015 today.
Yes.
Why don't you sit your man down and show him how it's done? I'm telling you.
Can we get a last word to Jordan?
Well, I guess that didn't work with her and Jeezy down the road. Wow.
On the beginning, they said, "Would you break up with somebody?"
Yeah.
Yes. But the icing is everything. The cake is not nothing without the icing. So for the time.
And that is important. It is important. Now, ladies, don't forget, that's how men think.
Yeah, that's how men think. A lot of men think that way, yes.
Jordan. Thank you.
All right, everybody. That was Real Daytime a while back. Interesting. Wow. I have to touch on this one. Why is sex so good in toxic relationships? I got to open that one up. That should be interesting.
Of toxic relationship is actually the intensity of the sex. In this type of relationship, the sex can feel electrically charged. And it can be really tempting to think that this insanely great sex is a positive thing for the relationship because it sure as hell feels like it in the moment. But we have to be careful about recognizing what's making the sex seem so great and decide if it's actually worth it for us. So in a toxic relationship, our brains are programmed through something called the intermittent reward system. And the intermittent reward system works by delivering a reward at irregular or unknown intervals. Meaning the person seeking the reward is never quite sure when they will obtain it or even if they will. But because dopamine, our pleasure-seeking neurotransmitter, is activated simply by pursuing pleasure and not necessarily receiving it, we continue to put efforts into achieving this desired pleasure even if we don't get it every time.
Okay.
So it's a lot like playing a slot machine in Vegas with the flashing lights and promises of this potentially massive payout for only a small cost.
Wow.
With a slot machine, you keep putting in coin after coin after coin, not knowing when that payoff will come.
Go ahead, girl.
And when it does come, it feels like it was way more significant than the coin it cost you.
Mm-hmm.
So just like a slot machine, your brain is going crazy with flashing lights and music and all of the things about the thought of being sexual with this toxic partner. Because the payoff of getting this time, attention, and affection in this toxic dynamic makes it seem like it's worth all of the other pain you've been experiencing. But awareness of what's happening in your nervous system can help you to recognize that this chaotic pattern is not good for you and not good for your mental health. It's comparable to watching a suspenseful movie. You're always guessing what's going to happen next, and so this creates an emotionally charged experience because of the lack of stability and security. Not great things for a relationship. Keep in mind that while the sex might feel amazing and exciting, staying in this toxic relationship because of that sex definitely comes at a cost for your mental health and well-being.
Dr. Elizabeth Frederick. I threw that in there because it came up in the queue of the information I was trying to bring to you all. And that's another thing. We'll talk about that another day. That'll be another subject matter. Great sex, but bad person. May do that one this week before the week ends. Because I think that happens quite often with a lot of people. You have great, awesome sex, but there's no chemistry. You two don't have much in common. You might share a laugh here and there, but there's a disconnect because you're wanting something more than that other person. And you see that a lot with women wanting more from the man. They're attracted to him. They think they like him. They're possibly, jaded by the sex because the sex is so great. And they're hoping it can be more, but it can't be more because 9 times out of 10, there's nothing there. There's no connection. It's just great sex. And you're blocking out everything else that should be important, such as the person is secure with themselves. They have a good attitude. They know how to talk. They're a good conversationalist. They work. They're a provider. They have good, decent attributes. And we as women, we overlook a lot of those good attributes because the sex is great and we don't really tell ourselves the truth. Well, you take away the sex, there ain't much there. So we'll talk about that at a later date. Pertaining to great sex. But the bad, it's not a viable situation for you and that person to be together because there's nothing there. Let's see what else we can find. Let's hear this Christian version.
I feel like our relationship is suffering because of it.
That where they have all these strengths and all of this compatibility and this amazing relationship, but then when it comes to their sexual relationship, it just feels like a disconnect is there, and they're having a hard time kind of managing that and working through that, and there's something about that doesn't feel like it's working. So I'm so grateful that that person asked that question. I think that that's so good. So typically when I have couples coming in to see me and they're having issues similar to this, I think the biggest thing that I always encourage, I think in general it tends to be women that tend to feel that way. I tend to encourage women to like speak up. The biggest thing in a sexual relationship is communication. Men have different arousal experiences. They experience sex just so very differently than women do, and their bodies are not attached to a woman's nervous system, right? So if a husband is doing something, they might think it's awesome, or they think that it's a really great idea, but
right.
if it's doing nothing for you,
very true.
It behooves you to say something like, hey, that's maybe not as great as I would like it to be, or it could be, like, maybe let's try this, right? I think, like, in our culture, we have this false perception that the more sexual partners you have, the better you're going to be in bed, right? When the reality is, like, every single woman is so unique in how they're wired and what feels good to them, that a man isn't going to know what's going to work for this partner as opposed to what's going to work for this partner. And so really leaning into that communication piece and actually, like, taking the time to explore, if what we're doing isn't working, let's figure out what does work, and having that safety and having that openness in the relationship, since it sounds like this relationship in particular has so many strengths, right? Like, lean into those strengths, have a conversation, try to figure out what does work for you and what does feel good, and you and your husband get to go on kind of like this new adventure together of like rejuvenating your sexual relationship and kind of going on this journey of figuring out what does work for you.
That makes sense, and I appreciate that, like, it's just another adventure together. Like, you know, it doesn't have to be awkward. I mean, do you feel like some people feel awkward bringing this up with their spouses, that they may not be quite as satisfied as maybe the other spouse thought they would?
Oh my gosh, yes. That is so normal. I think the fear in bringing that up is like, oh, what if you think I'm judging them, or I think they're not good enough, or like, is this gonna cause a fight, right? It's just, I think there's it's really normal for there to be a lot of apprehension and nervousness, and like, how is this gonna go over if I bring this up that I'm actually not super happy in our sexual relationship, right? But my encouragement is, like, you're investing in the future, right? The more enjoyable the sexual relationship is for both partners, the more you're both going to want to step into that space and continue to go back there and keep enjoying that together, right? And so really it's investing in the future and investing in, like, this really important aspect of the relationship, even though it is kind of awkward, like ripping that Band-Aid off, right? And saying something first. Of course that feels uncomfortable, but just how much of an investment it is to step into that.
Yeah, I love how you're framing it also as like an investment. You know, it's worth it. I feel like sometimes, you know, an investment means that, like, the cost might be great, but like there's an even greater reward, you know, on the other side, is what it seems like. So yeah, I really appreciate all of your insight into that. And I think it is true. I mean, you think about any other conflict within a marriage, like, generally the resolution is talking about it. So even though sex may seem like this whole separate category, like, it makes sense that talking about it is kind of the way through, just like we would have any other issue. Right,
and I think, like, as you were talking, Brittany, I just thought of
like another piece of that, like when we have emotional stuff going on, I think it's a little bit easier to like ask for what we need, right? Like, hey, like that common thing, like I don't need you to fix that, I just need you to listen, right? And I think like using that same skill in the sexual relationship of being able to communicate your needs, like this is actually what works for me, or this actually sounds like it might be better if you try this over here, right? And like just communicating your need is such an important part of any relationship. Yeah.
No, I love that. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
All right, mycounselor.online, Christian. So I played that in case there's somebody in the audience or someone viewing this is already in a relationship and they like the person they're with, but maybe the sex is not satisfying to them or to the other person, that they need to address it. So that's what the ladies were speaking about here in this commentary. It needs to be addressed. So address it. Because the old saying, closed mouth don't get fed. But as I said, with somebody new, you probably want to be a little leery because you don't know people, you know, and you don't know what could trigger a person to pop off. And that's just not a situation I think anyone would want to be in with a complete stranger. You know, somebody you just started talking to or dating, and then you say, well, I don't like this. This don't feel good. This is horrible. Jump up. You put your clothes on. And before you know it, you're in a really dire situation. But I think you could trust, you know, the person who you've been in a relationship with currently for a while, and something goes, you know, awry during the transaction. I think it won't turn out so bad if at some point you two talk about it, either at that point or later. But I definitely wouldn't go ham on a first time go with a stranger. Just saying. Now, this is interesting. Why so many men are bad in bed and don't even know it. Wow, that's interesting. Let me see what they're talking about. Hold on a minute, guys.
Orgasm during oral sex.
Wow.
What's that?
No.
But it takes two to tango, right?
It really does. Well, let me tell you something here for the women listening. You know, every time you held back telling your man that it wasn't that great or that what he did didn't feel good, you did yourself, your man, and the entire world of women a disservice, because every time you don't let him know that what he's doing doesn't work, he's thinking he's scoring, and therefore he's going to...
Before I finish this, I want to address something they were saying in the last commentary about doing it with a lot of people and thinking that that next person is going to like what you're doing. That's a very good point, because I think a lot of men may think that, and even some women. A man may think, well, if I do this to her, she'll like it because I did it with the last 5, 6, 12, 20 women, 30, whatever the amount is. Not necessarily true. Because what it's seen to be normal or popular in bed, it doesn't work for everyone. Some people don't care for oral sex. I've heard a lot of men talking in conversation who will say they don't like it, don't prefer it. Then you have some guys that say they like to go down on a woman. Vice versa. Some women like to do it to men, and there are women who don't care to do it. So you have to learn your partner. You have to learn the person that you're with. And a lot of men, they are sticklers for that. They like that. I've heard, male friends, they'll, go on and on like it's, it's, gold in a bucket. It's like, I gotta have it. And it's like, well, honey, are you going to bypass a nice lady because she doesn't like to do that? Just saying. Because if you're going to be grumpy and, negative, then where's that going to go? Because you like to do that. Let's say the sex is good, but you want her to do that and she doesn't want to do that. Then what? You're just going to cut her off? Say, this isn't going to work because she don't want to do that with me. And I think there's some men who would do that. They would cut a woman off because that part of the transaction she doesn't want to participate in. Or maybe she tried it, she didn't like it, whatever. So he just says, I can get another one. You'll probably be doing that a lot. Just saying, because there's some women who don't want to do that. And as far as oral sex, there are some men who believe they are the king at that. As they were saying here delicately, Some men think that whatever they do with everybody, it's going to work. Or the more partners they have, that they are a connoisseur at sex. That's not true. You could have slept with 50, 60 women. It does not mean you're good. That's an assumption. That's your ideology. Oh, I'm good at what I do. I know I'm good. They told me so. Maybe they did. And maybe there's 2 or 3 in the bunch that didn't like what you gave. Didn't like what you had going on. See, to each his own. Because let's be truthful, a lot of women don't like to hurt men's feelings. So you might have that guy walking around. He has his ego pumped up, thinking he's the man, he's the king. And little does he know, he got a lot of dissatisfied women walking around the city and the county that ain't too happy with his junk. Okay? And I will say this about men who talk a lot. Usually the guy that does a lot of talking, he probably ain't hitting on nothing. Because the thing is, if you're secure with yourself, you know you got it going on downtown, whether it's a nice equipment or you just know what to do with it, you don't have to brag about it. And really, to me, that's a turn off anyway. That's a straight turn off for Queen. Any man just comes out the gate, he starts talking about his private part, what it can do and what he likes to do. I'm not even turned on. You know why? Because I feel like you've said this how many times? To how many women? A lot. That's your mantra. Hey, I'm the king. I can do this. Well, good. You can do magic. Well, pull a rabbit out of the hat. Let me see. So turn off. Now, some women like that dirty, filthy mouth talk as soon as they meet a guy. I don't, because I already know he does this with everyone. So there's nothing special there. See, nothing special about me, let's say. A man bragging about what he can do, what he can't do. You know, he's the king, blah, blah, blah. That's a turn off to me. Because like I said, you've talked this way to many women and you assume they like it because they didn't say anything or they didn't complain. To me, one, that shows me you don't know how to talk. You don't know how to conduct yourself. You probably aren't that good. You're probably a sex fiend. All you can offer is sex. You don't have any other redeeming qualities. And you don't have any damn conversation. Because there are men who are like this. They cannot talk past sex. If you were to have sex with them, put your clothes on, sit at a table, or sit upright in the bed, or sit on a sofa, they don't have anything redeeming to talk about. The conversation will still go right back to, oh, you're so pretty, you're so cute, you smell so good. Oh, I want to touch you. They don't even know how to hold a conversation. That to me is a very sick individual. That they cannot hold a decent grown-up conversation without talking about sex and what they like to do and how they like it and what they want to do. And you're just sitting here thinking, damn, do you not have anything else to talk about? No, because he doesn't. And you can't have anything with a person like that. So that's why I said, how you start is how you finish. You meet a guy that talks like that, as soon as you meet him, you should already know he ain't hitting no shit. Now, you want to go forward with him? That's your business. I personally, I'm not interested. Because he's already telling me he doesn't want me for anything but that. And he doesn't have any redeeming qualities. And he doesn't know how to hold a conversation unless he's talking about sex. So
keep doing it. So if he's staying in a relationship with you, it means things are not going to change. And if he's going, if that relationship ends and he's going to see other women, it means he's going to do the same thing to another woman. And if it didn't feel good for you, it's not going to feel good to somebody else.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I want to just dive into a few more stats to help illustrate this point, right?
Okay, give us the numbers, Kevin.
So, in that same survey, they have some numbers about women and their orgasms. Now, we teach all the time that orgasm isn't the end goal. Mm-hmm. So I do want to state up front before I give these numbers that it's not all about the orgasm. However, reading these numbers gives you an idea of sort of some trends that are happening. Okay, so here it is. 62% of women always orgasm during masturbation. Okay, that's a pretty high number. That means most women will always, remember that word, always orgasm during masturbation, which means probably most of them will, at least from time to time.
Well, that means women know how to repair their bodies.
That's good.
Wow.
That's a good thing. All right, 34% of women always orgasm during oral sex.
Wow, that's not me. I think I've orgasmed from oral sex twice in my entire life. It's just not how it works for me.
Yeah, yep, and that's okay. But what's interesting I see is that it's a little bit more than.
So let me say this about this comment she made. Is it possible she didn't meet an orgasm because the guy didn't do it to make her have one? Could that be it? Just asking. Or is it that's not her preference? Because let's be truthful. If it's not something she's really into, she doesn't really care to have a guy down there, then it probably won't matter what he does or how he does it. Because let's be truthful, just like any type of act, some men cannot do that. Some men do not know the woman's G-spot, so she can't get to that point. So if a man does not know where her spot is, because every woman has a different area down there that gets her to her high point, then it won't matter. And I think a lot of men do not understand. That's why it's nothing wrong with a guy just saying, hey, what area here turns you on? Because I know some women it's more inside, some women it's outside. Just ask. As they say, a closed mouth don't get fed. But just assuming, as the other ladies were saying in the other audio, you just assume because of what you did over here with Susie and Mary, then that's going to work with this female over here. No, that's not true. And a lot of men don't even realize that what you do a lot does not mean it will work with the next female. Same thing with the woman. What you do a lot, the last guy does not mean it's going to turn this guy on over here, because every guy's different. You know, their areas of sensitivity is different. I think there are some guys who don't even care for women going down on them. And I always tell myself, that's probably a guy that probably ain't got much going on downtown. I don't know. I'm just saying every guy is different. But I have heard that before from men who will say, I don't care to do that for a woman. I don't want to do that. I ain't putting my mouth down there. Okay. So then what are you going to do? You get your lady who says, I got to have that. So then you're sitting here looking like, well, but I don't want to put my mouth down there. So that's a problem. Vice versa. Same thing for a woman. She don't want to do that, but the guy, he's into that. Very interesting. But yes, a lot of men need to realize what you think works for you with women, what you do to them, does not mean that works for every woman. Very true.
Half as many women once you bring a second partner in. Now, granted, it's oral sex, which is different than masturbation. But the point is that all of a sudden now a second person comes in and we see the numbers drop considerably. But wait, they drop even more. 27% of women always orgasm during intercourse where the penis enters the vagina. So basically only 27% of the women who have penis in vagina sex have an orgasm.
Let's talk about that number, 27%. That's low. And actually, that's not every woman in the universe that's been polled, but for however many women they ask. So that's letting you know that most women do not have an orgasm from penetration from a man. I'll let that sit right there. So now the men are probably thinking, well, damn. Well, how do I get her to have one? Well, that's where you asking the lady what she likes comes in to play. That goes back to what was just said by the other ladies. You can't assume that what you've been doing with other women will work for this woman over here or the next woman. That's your assertion. And you have some men who are ego-driven. They are too ashamed and too proud to even ask the lady, hey, what do you like? What turns you on? I think you should ask a person that. That way you don't have to feel shame or embarrassed by touching them or doing something to them that they felt inappropriate or they weren't on board with, or they say, hey, I'm not into that. Probably best you ask at the beginning of a courtship, what do you like? I would definitely say that in the beginning. What do you like? And then I would assume at some point a person will keep that feeling. If they like it, they will expect it. And then you don't even have to ask. But it's not to say that a person may not change his or her mind down the road that what you started doing, they don't like doing anymore. I'm sure that has happened with people as well. But 27% of women getting an orgasm from penetration from a man, that is a low number. That's a very low number. So now, as I said, I'm sure many men who hear this audio will say, well, damn, but what do I got to do to make her feel good? I guess you're going to have to ask her what she likes. Wow.
So what's the difference? And actually, I'm going to ask that question in a second because I'm going to read the very last stat, which is 26% of women always orgasm during genital touching. So basically what we see is a huge drop-off once a second person enters the picture. So then the question is, what changes between when a woman is by herself, self-pleasuring, and when a man or a woman in this case, because they don't specify whether it's necessarily a man or woman. Of course, obviously the penis and vagina one is very obviously a man, but when a second partner comes in, what's the difference?
I wonder. I think, when you're masturbating, well, first of all, you're in charge at all time of what's going on, and that you know the exact pressure you want, you need, and sometimes it takes a very little subtlety difference that could make it drop from like being close to an orgasm to not having it because of that change. But what I'm realizing is that I think there's a misconception that, okay, now I'm having partnered sex, therefore my partner should know everything that I want, so
Right.
I don't need to speak it up.
Right.
And, well, I can't tell the other person how to do it differently because then their ego is going to get bruised or they're not going to like it. So I'm just going to like hope for the best and cross my fingers that I'll be in that 26% or whatever number it was of 27% of the women who orgasms during intercourse. And it really doesn't work that way. So if you just leave it up to chance, leave it up to a partner, and don't speak up, the results are you don't get there.
Okay, so the results are you most likely won't get there, or there's a high likelihood that you won't get there.
Yeah.
Well, I like that you brought that part up because what you're actually talking about right now is the woman's role and why she's not being satisfied once a man enters the picture. And that's great. Actually, I think we could do an entire episode on that. This particular episode, though, is focused on what the men are doing wrong. But I love that you brought that up. And the reason is because I don't want this episode to be a let's blame all the men, right?
No.
Because like I said before, it takes two to tango, right? So both people involved have something to do with the outcome, right? So I love that you brought that piece in. But in this particular episode, we really want to help the guys. Like, this isn't about actually blaming them. This isn't about giving women some ammunition to say it's all his fault. No, this is about, okay, guys, let's look at the reality here. The women, once you enter the picture, aren't as satisfied as when they're by themselves. How can we help you with that?
Mm-hmm. And I want to say, before we give you like different things and to change, I want to really say that it's not all your fault. Like, I think education plays a big role in terms of there's very little that's being talked about at school. If you've been lucky, maybe you had an older brother or sister or siblings, whatever, and you were able to piece things together, and that's kind of how you figured out the sex part. Maybe your parents gave you the talk, the one where you felt so embarrassed. You're like, okay, I got it, Mom, thank you. I don't need to hear about it. And then maybe you're younger and all you know is porn, and it's not a good place for your education. And if you use porn as an educational tool, most likely you're not going to do the moves that the women really want.
Well, we know that here in this country, and obviously we're based in the U.S., we know that the sex education is terrible, which is why there is such a thing as the Love Lab podcast. We're here trying to fix all the stuff that wasn't ever taught at all or was taught incorrectly or whatever. But, looking at our podcast stats, I was noticing earlier today that we've been heard in 45 different countries. Oh! That's amazing. And thank you, by the way, everybody.
Let me go down a little bit. Let me see if I can get in here so we can get more information out of here. Hold on, you guys.
And snuggling before that. And to me, that's foreplay.
Touching, snuggling, cuddling,
telling
talking.
me romantic things. That's foreplay for me. And during the day, we remind each other. Remember, we say that a lot. We call it constant arousal, where we remind each other of like, you're sexual, oh, I love you, I want to fuck you, or grab a body part, like, can't wait to do you later. And so all of that is activating my brain, and our biggest sex organ is our brain. So that connection happened with my little brain. So is my pussy. It's lit up and ready. And so I think it was really essential to reframe that foreplay wasn't just licking the pussy 3 times and petting the butt, because it can show up in many different ways.
Exactly.
And a lot of people forget that. They just take it as, this is like, oh, as soon as the door of the bedroom is closed, I'm going to do that. We call foreplay the time in between each time you have sex.
Yeah. And when we give you the solutions, we'll talk a little bit more about that. But for now, know that you got to do something, no matter how, you got to figure out what it is she likes. You got to do something to get her more in the mood. Okay, this is a big one that I like to talk about, because I think it's one of the things that is so missing when working with men. Like it's something I have to talk about with pretty much every guy, which is they don't pay attention to the signs. And we've talked about this in other podcasts as well. When we say the signs, woman's body telling you. And guys, all right, we all got to be honest here, right? Yes, we listen to her words and what she's telling us, but the overwhelming majority of the information coming towards us is not from her words.
Isn't it like 80% of communication is nonverbal?
Yeah, and with a woman it might be 98.9.
In the bedroom, you mean? Please be a Jedi mind reader.
So that means really looking at her face. What do her eyes say? Does she have a look of bliss or a look of discomfort? What is her mouth saying? Is her lips sort of curling up, or are they curling down? Is she flushed with excitement, or is she pale with nervousness? Feel her pussy. Is it tight and hard to penetrate? Is it kind of dry, or is it just wide open and super lubricated already? Are her nipples hard? Like, what does her skin say? When you touch her, how does she move or react? Like, there's so many different things. Everything you do from the moment you are talking to her, cuddling with her, touching her, penetrating her, there's a sign, there's a reaction to all of those things. And when we talk about this generally in the context of when you're having sex, don't just be like, oh, I feel like pounding, and you just go ahead and pound, and you're oblivious to the fact that she's pretty much uncomfortable through the whole thing, right? So that's one way, obviously, is should you go fast? Should you go slow? Should you pound? Should you be still? Whatever it is. The point is there's so many signs that you can be paying attention to, and that's really important. And I think most men don't really do that. They have their own agenda in their head, and they just go.
I love that you mentioned all the different things there, Kev.
That's very true. As we're talking in the beginning about attractiveness, what attracts women, what women are attracted to as far as, size, tall, short, fat, whatever, weight, muscular, stout, thin. Then I flip it to the bad sex. What makes it bad with the man? And these are things that most men probably don't even think about. Too quick, too hard, no intimacy, no cuddling, no caressing, no compliments, no foreplay. That also plays a role into the sex not being great. Rather, the person is well endowed, a little bit endowed, don't have much. As I said, everyone has his or her preferences. But that is something that we did not discuss at the beginning of this live stream pertaining to the sex being bad. There has to be a lead, whether, as I said, it's a new relationship or it's an older one. There has to be something there to get you in the mood. And that is the difference between a man and a woman. Some women want to be touched, wants to be aroused. Some men want the same. Then there's some men, they don't need that. They just want to go right in, do their thing, and then they're done. And then what? Roll over, go to sleep. And some women don't like that. They want to be touched. They want to be talked to. They want, as this one we hear saying, whisper sweet nothings in my ear, compliment me, tell me I look good, blah, 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 touch me, have a lead off. like they say, maybe send a text or send a note or a quick brush by the person walking by. Anything. Kiss on the ear, shoulder blade. See, everybody's different. This is why you have to know the company that you're in. Know the company that you're in. And you're not going to know them until you learn that person. They learn you and you learn them. And that's just the way it is. And it's sad that a lot of people are in relationships with people, they're really not pleased. And I think what is missing from a lot of courtships, relationships, is one, intimacy. Because intimacy is not the same as sex. Sex is just physical. Intimacy is conversation. It is a connection, a touching. Being aroused just by looking at the person. They haven't even said anything to you, but you can look at a person. I will ask some of the ladies that, have you ever been with a man that you are turned on by him and he has not said anything to you? He has not touched you, groped you. He has not said anything sexual in nature, but it's just the way he looks, the way he talks, the way he walks. Cornbread's so funny. Hello, dear. That's the guy that is the ultimate turn on. But then I always say the flip side of that is there's that one who, God forbid, he's a bad boy, and you could just look at him and just be just like, you lose your damn mind. That's what Tamar was saying in the last segment. You don't want it so good to where you can't function, you can't work, you can't do your damn job, you can't damn walk. You don't understand what I'm saying. Because that's a terrible place to be in. Next day, you're groggy, foggy, you're bumping into walls. And you don't even wear glasses. You understand what I'm saying? Because that's that kind of sex that'll make you walk through a plate glass window. And you're walking around and everybody's looking at you talking about, what the hell wrong with you? And you don't want to say, girl, it was so good last night. Shut your mouth. Because I'm telling you, that's some dangerous sex. That's some dangerous sex. When it's so good, you can't think, you can't eat, you can't sleep. It's good, but it's the worst kind because, as they were saying earlier, the anticipation of wanting it, desiring it, got to wait to get it. And God forbid, it's not, the person isn't giving you more than just that. Do you understand what I'm saying? They're not giving you the intimacy outside of that. It's only, as I say, just the good sex. And then after that, maybe you don't hear from them. You don't see the person. They're not calling. They're not texting. A lot comes with that. Because I think, honestly, a lot of sex that's bad is bad to you. It's probably with a person that's really, really nice. I'm just saying. I mean, it can go both ways.
And it was really good. And I want to add a couple pointers for all our male listeners. The second of discomfort is literally sometimes just a second where we'll wince a little bit to just a weird twitch with our face, and then it's gone. And so you really need to pay attention because we're not going there for like 3 minutes and like that unless it really is uncomfortable. And the other part where, what is she doing with her hands? Is she like pulling you forward towards her and like grabbing your butt and like bringing you deeper inside her? Or is she kind of like using her hand and pushing you away or like redirecting your hips a different way? And like pay attention because that means a lot. It could be like she's readjusting because the angle's not very good or it's too deep and she's not quite ready yet. And so these are really subtle signs, and all the others that Kevin mentioned are really good, but these are like, they're not so obvious and yet they are. If you know what they are, then you'll see them.
That's like we were talking about the other day with language, right? When you're learning a new language, you often can't hear the subtleties of different, syllables or pronunciations. Whereas the person who's the native speaker is like, my God, it's so obvious. How can you not hear that? Right?
Absolutely.
So it's similar here in a sense that it may be hard for you at first to see the signs, but the more in tune you get, the easier it will be.
So let's look at another mistake here, which ties in with the one we were just talking about. They are not present during the lovemaking.
Interesting.
Tell us more about that, Kevin.
Well, by presence, like, are you really fully there or are you distracted? And here's the thing, guys sometimes intentionally distract themselves and other times unintentionally distract themselves.
Baseball.
Right.
Grandpa.
Margaret Thatcher naked on a cold day. Margaret Thatcher naked on a cold day. It's from Austin Powers if you don't get the reference. But,
wow.
So the unintentional one is easy, right? That's the monkey mind. So there's a lot of times when the guy is like, oh, am I gonna perform good? Or oh, I have this big meeting tomorrow, or oh, the kid's this, or whatever it is. There's all this distraction that goes on that really prevents them from really truly being present.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the intentional distraction, which is a technique that's often taught to try to delay ejaculation.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I think this is a terrible technique to teach because it creates another problem. Does it work? Yes, it can work to some extent, but then it creates another problem. It has a side effect.
Yeah, she feels you're not with her.
Exactly.
It's like, why do I want to make love with that guy who's not with me?
Right, and that's the idea of thinking, baseball, trying to take your mind off the fact that you're actually in the middle of having sex right now so that you don't ejaculate. But the unintended side effect of that is that the woman instantly feels when you are not there. When you've checked out mentally, she knows it right away, and it is one of the biggest turnoffs for a woman. Like, if you could create a list, Celine, of the things that are the biggest turnoff for you, I'm imagining that a guy who's not present with you in the room is way up on the list.
Absolutely. Nobody wants that. I mean, I want a man's full attention. I want to feel like I'm the most important thing in his world, in his life, at least in this present moment. I want to see that I matter. I want to see that he loves me and that I'm beautiful. And if I don't see those things, then I'm kind of like not met. And that's the whole thing that we hear a lot of women talking about, like, he's not meeting me fully, or I don't feel him quite fully. And then she starts, it's not a good response, but that's usually the response that happens. She starts to guard herself and her heart because, like, well, he's not really fully there, so I'm not going to fully love him. So then it's this cycle where she doesn't fully love him, and then he's like, she's not loving me, and I'm not giving her my all, and both of them are frustrated.
Oh, that's a downward spiral.
It really is.
Okay, next one on the list. Guys ejaculate too quickly. So when you look at the stats and you realize that most women, if they are masturbating, 62% of them will always have an orgasm. And why does that go down to 27% with penetration, with penis and vagina?
Not enough pressure, not enough time.
Not enough time. I can tell you that's the real reason why that number drops off.
Mm-hmm.
We know this from every study that's ever been done. Some studies said,
or could it be, ding, 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 that she doesn't get a sensation from penetration? Because they say each woman has her own, erroneous zone, okay, downtown. So could it be penetrated, she doesn't get that sensation? It feels good or okay, but it's not to the point where she would, meet her high point. So could it be maybe outside her vagina is where is her erroneous zone, and she would have her high point? See, every woman's made different. That starts with, as I said before, and what the ladies have said in the commentary earlier, you have to ask what turns the lady on, the man. It's all the same. Hey, what makes you feel good? Hey, what turns you on? What brings you to your climax? Because you're not going to know if you're not with the person, and let's say it's your first time. You're not going to know. So I think there's nothing wrong with asking. As they say, a closed mouth don't get fed. And it's just true. There are some women who don't get to that high point through penetration. Now, you tell that to a man, he'll probably be thinking to himself, what do you mean? That doesn't make any sense. That's just an assumption. It's just an assumption. You may get to that high point being inside of a woman, but that does not mean she will. Because maybe somewhere else outside, maybe it's her, zone where you touch outside the lips, whatever, and she's like, oh, that's it. And a lot of men probably can't understand, like what? That's your hot spot? Yeah. But how's he going to know? He's not going to know until she tells him. Every woman is different.
Average.
Here's how I make that.
All right, brief commercial. I'm not going to play too much more of this. Feel free, you can check out this content here in the YouTube queue, Kevin Anthony and Celine Remy. Well, what I was playing. Hold on, everybody.
It's never been done. Some studies said the average man ejaculates in 3 to 5 minutes. Some studies say 5 to 7 minutes. Even if you double what the better study says and maybe to 15 minutes.
This is a side of you I don't
same
know
studies
about.
also show that it takes the woman at least 20, sometimes 30. So they're just simply not going long enough. And this is why we created one of the programs in Power and Mastery, which is Master Your Ejaculation. We created this program specifically to help teach men how to last long enough so that their woman will actually be satisfied. Mm-hmm. And believe me, man, yes, it's about satisfying the woman, but you have to realize that the longer you have sex, the more satisfied she is, the more satisfied you in turn will be. Mm-hmm. First of all, you get to have sex longer. So whatever those great, amazing feelings you're feeling during sex are, you just get to feel them for even longer. But also, you'll reach higher states the longer that you go. And then here's yet another benefit that a lot of men don't think about. If you fuck your woman proper, she will return that favor to you in so many ways. 10 times, tenfold in the meals she cooks for you, or the way she loves you, or the massage she gives you, or the sex or blowjob, or whatever it is. Like, it's going to come back to you 10 times if you really do a good job.
I wish I could remember that saying. Like, do you remember?
Do you all agree with that? That the man performs well, exceptionally well, to a woman's liking, he will get that back 10 times fold. Do you agree? Because there might be some men who give great sex to their woman, and maybe he don't get anything back. Just saying, to each his own. She gets it. Yeah, it's great sex, but she's in her own zone. She does her own thing. She's not accommodating to the man. She ain't worried about cooking no good meals or giving him massages or picking up his dry cleaning or fixing him a special meal. You understand what I'm saying? Catering to him, buying him a nice gift. It's the assumption. He pleases her. He thinks he's pleasing her. He will get something in return, such as, nice gestures, so on and so forth. I don't know if that's true with every guy, because I'm sure there's some women who can be just as numb and cold. They get the sex and then they get up, put their undergarments on, whatever, clothes, and walk out the door like a dude. Well, I got it. Got to go. And they could actually be living in the same house, but they're like a man, they're numb. Turn over, read a book, or go to sleep, start the day over. Just saying.
Like when you give a woman a seed and she makes a meal or a garden, like there's a whole thing like.
Yeah, I don't remember it either, but basically the idea of it is
what?
that a woman will multiply whatever you give her.
Yes.
Yeah. So give her orgasm, she's going to multiply that. So please, if you're a guy and you struggle with this problem, as so many men do, please check out our Master Your Ejaculation program. It's at powerandmastery.com. It is well worth it.
Mm-hmm. So let's go. We have 2 more mistakes. And so one is still that they're too much focused on the ejaculation, aka orgasms. So if you are just so focused on your end goal, whether it's to reach it or to avoid it, if you're there, you're not there with her. And so that's definitely a mistake. And then I think the last mistake is that it's not all about the intercourse, or it's all about the intercourse because that's what they're thinking. Oh, I just gotta like fuck her. But like we were talking about earlier, this whole thing of constant arousal, love foreplay, and that if all you focus on is the intercourse, you're missing a point.
Yeah, so there's all the physical things, right? There's the stuff that we teach in Power Up Your Erections and the stuff in Master Your Ejaculation. There's all of that, and that's all great, like foundational stuff. But if you really want to get to the next level of sex, you got to take it beyond all of that stuff. And there's so many other levels, all these subtle levels that aren't about the physical intercourse. You know, we talked about presence, that's one of them. But the communication, I mean, there's so many things in there that aren't really physical intercourse, but are hugely important to the success of any sexual encounter. Now, I know we try not to do too many plugs in this show, because really this show is like our way of giving to the world, but we try to get as many of those subtle things, those techniques, into our sexual mastery program as possible, which is also at powermastery.com. So there's a whole long list in there.
Her skin, is there moisture, is there heat, her eyes, are they big and open, or is she shutting her eyes and her face is really tight, is her mouth relaxed, are her lips, is she biting her lips, or is she keeping her mouth really shut, is she opening her mouth in a beautiful sound, like what is going on there?
Exactly, and we gave you a whole bunch more signs earlier, so look for all of those. In fact, I would suggest make a game out of it. See how many different sides you can recognize the next lovemaking session that you have. I bet you'll see a bunch that you realize you've never noticed before.
I'm going to stop there. I hope the content was to your liking. If not, we'll try another segment. But what I wanted to touch on, it's just the laws of attraction. What you as a woman, what you desire, what turns you on as far as physical about a man. You know, we talked about that at the beginning of this live stream. Feel free to go back to the beginning. I give you a few scenarios of what women are attracted to, not attracted to. Each woman is different. Maybe as I said, how you start is how you finish. And sometimes you can start a certain way, especially when you're younger. You can date certain people, go out with certain people, have a fling, whatever. And maybe down the road, that's not to your liking. So maybe one day a woman, she had relationship with a guy who was chubby or overweight. And then maybe 5 years from now, that's not to her specification. She's not attracted to a chubby guy, a thick guy. Same thing with the man. People change. One day he likes a blonde, next day he likes a brunette. One day he likes her slender, tall. The next day he prefers her short. It just depends. And sometimes I think people also mimic what they've had in the past. Well, they had a great relationship with a short, dark-haired young lady, and now they're out looking for another short, dark-haired lady. Because you've heard people say that, like, oh my gosh, that lady looks just like his last girlfriend or his last wife. I think people do it either subconscious or deliberately. They are attracted to this dark-haired beauty, and now that's all they want. Just like there are men who prefer blondes. To each his own. Short, tall, fat, chubby, pear-shaped, muscular, whatsoever. Everyone has his or her preference. But I ask this question to the women. What is your preference? What do you like? What are you attracted to? Tall guy, short guy, average height, muscular, built, a little bit of belly, nice butt. What? What turns you on? What do you like? What do you prefer? Are you happy with the person you're with now, currently? Do they satisfy you mentally, physically? As I said earlier, when you see this person, because this to me means a lot, that I could be turned on looking at the person and they don't have to touch me. That I like what I see. Okay? Because, of course, I know someone like this personally. I can look at the person and I'm immediately just turned on just by looking at the person. I don't have to touch the person. He doesn't have to touch me. Okay? But then you also have to ask yourself, is it enough? Are you getting enough from that person? And a lot of times we don't get enough from the person because we may have asked, but maybe they can't fulfill everything that we're desiring from the person, and that's where you have the problem. So then now we flip it from what I'm attracted to having actual sex with a person, but I'm not getting what I need. But I like the person. So it could be a flip. You can actually have good sex with a person, you like them, but they're not giving you other things that you need. Then you could also like a person, they have great qualities, he's a nice guy, educated, he's a great job, he knows how to talk, he knows how to hold a conversation, you laugh, you have a few things in common, but you've had sexual relations and you're not happy, you're not pleased. To me, it's a bummer either way. To be physically attracted to a man, like him, great qualities, but the sex is horrible. You go back in 2 times, the sex is still horrible. Now, flip side, there's that guy over here who needs work, let's say. You're physically attracted to him, the sex is awesome, but it's lacking. He's lacking in giving you other things you need, such as like a commitment. They don't show up, they don't follow through. To me, both are jacked up. How about that? I'm just keeping it real. Both are jacked up. Physically attracted to somebody, sex is great, but you're not getting what you need from that person besides the sex, because you got to have more than sex. That's common sense. Unless that's all you're going to have with that person is a sexual relationship, which that's your business. If you two come to a common decision and agreement, hey, we'll just have sex. I can't give you what you want. I can't, be there for you. I can't be your shoulder to lean on. I can't, take care of you. I don't want a commitment, but we can have sex. If you two decide to sign off on that, then that's your choice. But then imagine, as I said, you're physically attracted, great sex, but they can't give you other things. That's a terrible place to be. Now, flip the coin. You're over here on this side of the street, great looking guy, nice looking, smells good, good job, woo, 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 great qualities, but the sex is horrible. God forbid, doesn't have a great sized penis, or he's got health problems and can't get up. Whatever the issues. May have something, but he don't know how to work with it. Or there are things you like to do that he don't like to do. Whatsoever. It's still a jacked up place. But both places are jacked up. But here in this commentary I played you, the last audio, this is more for people who are in the groove with each other. They're in relationships. They're trying to meet up in the middle, satisfy one another. So I decided to play a little bit of that. For those of you who are actually in relationships, you have somebody that you are meshing with, but maybe there's some lacking in the sexual arena and sexual satisfaction. So I don't want to just leave anybody out. So I don't want it to be just all about meeting a new guy and it ain't working. Do you run? Because there might be some of you who actually are in relationships and you like your partner, you vibe with your partner, your husband, but maybe there's some things that needs a little bit of tweaking. So that's why I played that audio too. For those of you who are in relationships. And my thing is too, knowledge is key. We all can learn something new about ourselves and others. The next live I'll do after hours, it will possibly be great sex, but bad guy. This will be the bad boy. This will be the guy who was immature. He doesn't have anything to offer you. He doesn't have his shit together. He's always in something, got something going on, some type of drama, some type of mishap. He's not a good catch. He's just that guy who I say is just really like the roundaway guy. He could be great, but he chooses not to be. He could be a better person, but he chooses not to be. And to me, that is the worst place to be in as well. Is to be physically attracted to somebody and also sexually attracted to the person. And the sex is great, but after that, there's nothing. There's no intimacy after you two get out of bed. There's no calling, hi, how are you? I was thinking of you. How's your day? Do you need anything? I was stopping by Walmart to do this. Can I pick you up something? Because that's how a lot of women get caught up. Is what I call the bad guy. Great sex, bad guy. He can't offer you anything. He chooses not to offer you anything. And you're hung up on the sex because it's so good, you can't see past go. And you're hoping that he'll change. He'll come around because you're a great catch. You know you're a great catch. You're a pretty lady, nice looking lady. You smell good. You doll up. You take care of yourself. You're self-proficient. And you're asking yourself, you're telling yourself, I know I'm a great catch. What's this dude's problem? The hell's wrong with him? Then you start blaming yourself, pointing the fingers at yourself. Well, what's wrong with me? Is it I'm too this, too that, not enough? It won't matter. It won't matter. And that's what you have to tell yourself. Don't compare yourself to another woman, because if not you, it'll be somebody else. He'll do the same and probably has been doing the same. He is the problem. And you have to have more than sex, because at some point, sex is just not going to be enough. Everybody knows this. Yes, it's great to have, but there's going to be a point when you're not going to feel like having sex, or sex is not on your mind, but you just want to have a conversation with the person. You want somebody to call you, take you out, go out to eat, go to the movies, take a day trip, rub your feet, rub your back, run your bath water, cook you something to eat, pick up something from the store, empty your trash. You see where I'm going? You want someone to do something nice for you, to you, talk nice to you, be there for you. That's something sex can't give. Once again, it's a great act, but there is more to life naturally than just having sex, turning cartwheels and flips and tricks and shit. You want someone to care about you, somebody to love you, talk nice to you. Now, there's some women and men who don't care for that. They don't need the intimacy. They don't need the conversation. They don't need the text messaging. They don't need the rub on the shoulder, the stroking of the hair. They just want straight, good sex, and that's enough for them. And as I said, to each its own. But others do desire a mate, do desire camaraderie, do desire friendship, do desire someone to care for him or her. That's my content, everybody. Thank you for joining me. I want to thank all my new subscribers. God bless all of you. Thank you for tuning into this network. As I have said to some of you who follow this network, this is not a true crime network. This is a network about various topics and situations and circumstances. So if you go in my extensive library, 3,000 or more videos, I have topics pertaining to crime, hypothetical situations, real life true stories, various topics, situations, and scenarios. And this is an after hours segment of the Vault Excel where we discuss grown people situations, intimate situations, better suited for late night, early morning. And I thank you for tuning in. I hope there was something valuable in this content that you can take with you or pass it along to one of your friends or associates or family members, which is however, maybe an open discussion with your mate about satisfaction and what you like, don't like, and how you can make things better between you two. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $BGANGI129 Cash App, stickers and chats are always welcome during the live. Thank you so much for tuning in. Cornbread, please. Cornbread, I liked you better when you were commenting on the other topics. I liked you better on the other topics that we talk about. You know, I've never had you in the in one of the chats when we talked about girl talk and intimate type conversations. I'm not used to you giving your personal opinion in this type of arena. A slow hand. I can't. Lord have mercy. But you've been with the queen a little while now, so I thank you for following me and coming in this early morning to listen to this content. I thank all of you. God bless all of you. Have a wonderful week. Stay hydrated. Stay cool. Please wear your sunscreen, sun visors, hats, sunglasses. Get in the cool when needed. If you feel exhausted, slow down, and please sit somewhere and drink enough water and fluids. I have found The Outsiders. It's a 7-year-old series. I did not know it was this old. I've been wanting to watch this TV series for years, and I'm just now tuning into it. It only ran for 2 seasons by WGN News, or WGN, the network out of Chicago, and I am thoroughly enjoying the episodes. I am on season 1. I think I'm on episode 4, if I'm not mistaken. So please tune into Outsiders, currently running on Tubi. on the Tubi network. Free with ads, of course. One free episode is uploaded in the YouTube queue, and I also shared it to my community board for those of you who want to try out an episode just to see if you will like the TV show. Hello, Lo. How are you? Oh, my goodness. You were here the whole time and never said anything. Sitting up here ear hustling, didn't speak to the queen. You know better. But I thank you all so much. I'll be back with more stimulating content and subject matters. Later today, I will bring you Your Crazy America. That's where I will bring you an antic behavior, outlandish, outrageous behavior from a United States citizen. And we will chop up that. Please check out my extensive content pertaining to transgendered women in prisons. I've brought you information pertaining to prisons closed down because of improprieties done to women inmates by guards and transgender females. I brought you information that a lot of transgender females have violent criminal records and are currently incarcerated for violence exacted against men and women. A lot of people probably didn't know that. I didn't know that, but I just learned that probably yesterday. So please check out my shorts and my content and the live I did recently pertaining to transgender females inside of prisons that are allowing these men to be in the prisons, knowing that they are biological men. I don't condone this. I think it's wrong. California is one of those states, Wisconsin, New York, New Jersey, I think Connecticut, some other places. Feel free to go back and watch that live and also look at the shorts. It's baffling because I do not think it's right to have a man in a prison, whether he identifies as a female, dresses as a female, I don't care. I think it's wrong because there's no way a man should be in a prison with a woman. There is no way. It's bad enough we have sexual assaults with guards, staff members against female inmates. So there's no logical reason to put a damn man in a prison with a woman and he has a penis. And the fact that now, as I said, in California, law went into effect 2020, a woman can request to move into a prison that is housed for women only, which I think is wrong. I put the questions on my community page of every subject I can think of pertaining to this subject matter, topics rather. Take the polls. Do you believe it's right to house transgender women in women's facilities? Do you think it's right to move a transgender female out of a male prison into a female prison if she asks to, for whatever reason, whether she's being threatened, bullied, whatsoever, feared for her safety? And the one thing people need to understand is you cannot assume because you put that female into a female prison, he is not going to desire, she or whatsoever, having sex with a woman. Because one of those men in New Jersey made 2 babies. So although I believe he went in that prison as a young boy, the point is he had to have done something terrible to end up in the prison as a minor. And then the fact that he's having sex with the women, but yet he's transgender. So one would say, well, choose a box. You either want to be a woman or you want to be a man. You can't say you want to be a woman, but you're screwing women in the women prison. Because one, he didn't have no business in there to where he could have sex with women. Please take the polls, put your comments on the poll and also the polls and the video itself. As I said before, I want to thank you all for taking the polls because I get a general idea how you all feel about things. And when I do lives, I like to make a short now about the lives, the topic, and also put a question pertaining to the live stream. That way I still get a consensus of how you all feel about the topic at hand. And some of you have thoroughly enjoyed the post. You've commented to let me know you like the post, and I appreciate that a lot. I really do appreciate you all taking the post because so far I've been getting a lot of people commenting and taking the post. So I really do appreciate that information. And prayers for Miss Casey out of Chicago, an African-American female who is currently missing in the Bahamas. I got a notification while we're live tonight, or this morning rather, that I think I found out really before I went live that her phone has pinged on the water. Last ping which is terrifying because the ocean is great. So one would have to ask themselves, what was she doing on the water for it to be the last ping on her phone? Was she riding with someone on a boat, fell off, or was she pushed off, thrown off? Hate to think like that, but that would be the obvious notion, being her phone pinging on a boat. That means she was on a boat or somebody had access to her phone on a boat. Take your pick. So prayers to Miss Casey. Prayers for answers. Also, her family is in the Bahamas right now. They're on the ground. So hopefully they'll get some information. But what is disturbing about this case, as Mr. N has said on News Nation, he didn't see people searching when he was there the other day. There are no flyers of her. And the reason why they won't have flyers up for this black woman is for the obvious reason. The Bahamas is a tourist spot, island, just like Jamaica, other places. They do not want to draw attention that there is a missing American, because that will make people pack up and get their damn luggage and get the hell off the island. And they thrive and survive off of American and foreign money, travel. That's common sense. So the last thing they want is people to be on the island spending money, supposed to be enjoying themselves, worrying about this black woman missing or any other person missing. But people need to take heed. There is travel advisories for these locations: Bahamas, Jamaica, Mexico. United States government is warning, stay your tail at your own damn house or within the United States. And let's be truthful. You do not have to go far to get mugged, to get robbed, to be sexually assaulted, kidnapped. You can get all that right here in the good U.S. of A. So why book a flight to go lay on a beach or go to a retreat to come up missing? And now somebody's got to fly overseas to try to see about you. I tell people all the time, I haven't lost nothing in Mexico, and I mean that. I have lost nothing. Mexico, South America, Jamaica, Bahamas, Haiti. I don't need to go to none of them places. Cuba, Colombia, it's all the same to me. And yet you people still keep going in these places. That's why I don't get it. Every month there's a story about somebody who's gone to one of these places and they have not returned. Or they were drugged. They were beat up. They were robbed. Now, we got a story now of a white lady. They didn't even want to let her come back from Costa Rica because of some piece of pottery she bought. And they were asking for $4,000 so she could board the plane. So they took her $160 and they let her come back home. She's lucky to even be able to get back on a damn airplane. Her family had already left. She was there alone, scared, didn't know what was happening. And then she said, I don't know what crime I've committed and what's on my name down here. Nothing. They took advantage of you and this piece of pottery that you had in your carry-on bag, and they wanted to milk you out of money in order for you to get on an airplane. That's what the hell was going on. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They were scamming this lady, scheming, bartering with her to pay up in order to get on the airplane. This is what they think of you as a United States citizen, as a foreigner as well. And so long as you are white with blonde hair, blue eyes, you are a target in these countries. And it is time for you all to accept that. You are not liked and wanted in these places. They want your money, but they also will do whatever they can to hurt, harm you, and milk you out your fucking coins. So it doesn't matter if you are fair-skinned, if you are brown-skinned, stay your ass from these places. Because they know that you are not from the island. That is why they're targeting you. And they also have high crime against their own people. I brought you that commentary months ago when the two Caucasian ladies went down there and said they got sexually assaulted down there on the islands. Please stay off the cruise ships. Don't jump off the cruise ships to go walk the ports, because that's the old saying, out of sight, out of mind. And you can't even trust getting on the damn cruise ships. There's always some shenanigans on the damn ship. Somebody went, got married. Now, poof, they're missing, thrown overboard. It just goes on and on. You could get hurt right here in America. I'd rather be hurt here than hurt over there. That's just how I feel. And naturally, you don't want to get hurt here stateside, but the point is, we have high crime here in America now. We have all these broke-ass people who don't want to work or own drugs, whatever their situations are, the vices, and they don't mind doing something heinous to you for the almighty dollar and sexual deeds against you. So common sense should tell you, why do you want to go overseas to get the same treatment? That's crazy to me. And I have seen people even comment under my videos with stupid comments. Oh, nothing happened to me when I went to Mexico. Well, count yourself lucky, as I said to the person. What are you bragging about? Oh, you didn't get mugged. You didn't get raped. Well, congratulations. What do you want? A medal? It's a stupid thing to say. I didn't have any problems. This time, you didn't have any problems. If America has an advisory, then you should take heed and believe it, because people are not returning to the United States. There's also right now a white couple missing, middle-aged couple missing from somewhere. This is not make-believe. It's not made up. It's not a conspiracy. It's not the Illuminati. It's not the government. It's not UFOs and Area 51. These are real people who are missing from these islands, and they are gone. Ain't no ransom. Ain't none of that shit. They are dead. So you want to carry your ass over there, fly over there because the almighty dollar is higher. You want to see the ocean and the palm trees. Knock yourself out. You want to get wiped up by a fucking tsunami? Hey, knock yourself out. Because I'm starting to wonder now the mindset of people who want to keep running over here to these foreign countries and these islands for what, when you keep hearing these horrible, horrible stories of people not coming back. Ask yourself, is it worth it to be detained for foolishness and or not to come back? So you can't trust the people on the island. You can't trust the people at these resorts. You can't trust the people on the cruise ship. And hell, you can't even trust the people who you're going down there with. We've seen those horrible stories too. People traveling to these islands with their friends, family, new husband, new wife, and they don't come back. So you can't trust anybody. That is the way it is. That is the world that we're in. You don't know people. And the sooner you accept that, you will navigate better in life. Walk around on eggshells all the time? Of course not, but you need to be aware of everywhere you go, every person you deal with, what you say, what you talk about, what you tell people, because that is something a lot of us just do not want to accept. You can be the cause of your own demise because you refuse to pay attention. You're too trusting. You have to tell everything. You have to talk about everything. And I'm not here to lecture you. I'm just trying to help save your fucking life, because there are evil people out here who are watching and they are lurking in the shadows. And I don't want anybody having to walk around scared to walk outside of their house. But sadly, we live in a very sick society. And it doesn't matter where you go, stateside, Europe, Canada, the islands, there are evil people and they are watching you and they are hunting. And if not you, it'll be somebody else. So this is why I'm just saying to you, children, teenagers, college students, elderly, we are all susceptible to foul play. Do not think it cannot be you, because it can. And every day I sit up and watch these crazy ass true crime stories in the YouTube queue and other documentaries, and I get scared shitless because it's like, how am I different than this person over here who was just taking a run or went out late night to get a beer or a cigarette or whatever? 2 weeks ago, a lady assaulted at 2 o'clock in the fucking afternoon downtown in a fucking parking garage here in Knoxville. Just unbelievable. And then they've got this joker on camera. She's old enough to be his mother. He's walking around with a styrofoam container like he went and got something to fucking eat. So you're walking around on camera with food in your hand and you got time to go rape somebody in a parking garage? Are you serious? In the ladies' restroom? This is crazy. This is what's out here. So please be mindful of your surroundings. That's all I'm saying. Be mindful of how you talk to people, what you say, what you post, all of that. Because I'm going to keep saying this. You don't know people. Thank you for your time. God bless all of you. Feel free to go back to the beginning of this live. Chop it up at your convenience. It's a 2-part live. Fat God, Lil Guy, bad sex. Do you run? Do you stay? Do you work it out? Do you try to see if the sex is going to be better the next time? Maybe next time I'll drop the link and I'll get a winner and a taker, somebody who would love to come up on the panel and share their experiences with the Queen. I am looking forward to trying to bring new guests to this network to share their stories with you so you can get a glimpse into the lives of other people and hear their stories instead of me having to spin it via an article or audio. That's the next route I'm shooting for this network, is to take this channel back to how it was when I first came to YouTube, where I bring you different types of content and storylines pertaining to real life scenarios. Thank you so much for your time. God bless all of it. You have been listening to the Vault Excel and After Hours with the Queen.